Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here, first of all. Yes, my name is Aida. I am the founder of WONE. It is a performance digital agency based in JLT, Dubai. I'll give you some introduction before we get into, talking about performance digital marketing, what it is, well, what do we do with it, and what's the importance of performance digital marketing. So I've done a business school in Algeria. This is where I come from, actually. Done some masters in France, and then joined one of the best, probably, performance digital agencies back in Europe called KAT. The agency got acquired by Group M 4 years ago, so after 5 years there, I just left and started my own agency. So it's, as I said, the performance digital agency. What is performance marketing anyway? It is, the way of, I think, one of the best ways to use data as well as content, visuals, to achieve predefined KPIs clearly measured. So we're far from just pure awareness targets and impressions. We're focused much more on real added value. We're talking about ROIs, cost per acquisitions, CACs, LTVs, etc. So it's really deep down in the funnel in terms of data measurement. About the question, by the way, just keep all your questions at the end. I'll be very happy to answer them, obviously. So in terms of agenda, we will be talking about the digital marketing landscape in general. So I'm not quite sure on the levels of digital here in the room. So if I'm too basic, sorry for that. If I'm too advanced, just keep your questions at the end. We're going to talk about how do we strategize, plan, operate, optimize eventually. I would love to do another session to discuss how to operate as well the campaigns. However, I'll need like a full day or 2 days workshop. We talk about the importance of the work of agencies, actually. Should you in-house? Should you outsource? What should you expect from agencies today? And I'm mainly talking about the GCC because I've been here for close to 9 years now. So I'm pretty aware of the practices that can happen. So these are just tips and tricks that I think anyone should consider. Okay, so obviously the landscape you may be aware of is just a global landscape of all your targets. So your targets will be sitting in a predefined position, and you would want to use all the ecosystem around to achieve your target. So the idea about performance digital is that it gets embedded into the whole strategy when it comes to digital, and it's very important that it comes as part of it, but at the same time, it's going to be, complementary, basically, to your business needs. So you also need to create a lot of synergies when you run your digital, channels. So if you run SEA, which is search engine advertising, it needs to be completely synergized with your search engine optimizations, the SEO part, so that you do not want to appear on paid search ads all the time if your SEO is really, really good, for instance. You would want to create some synergies and cost effectiveness here. Obviously, digital is here to answer digital problematics, but not only. We actually see that it can also help us understand the pure consumer behavior and how the trend is going in a certain market. So you can also leverage digital marketing to understand your product and your audience. And obviously, it needs to have very good technical skills. The beauty about digital performance marketing is that you can obviously reach anyone, any audience that is available out there online can be reached, across desktop, mobile, tablets, any device at any time. You can reach the right people as well because you can be really relevant in targeting. So you can, for instance, target people who have recently moved to a new house, or people who have recently gotten a new relationship, or mothers with babies between 0 and 2 years, for instance, if you're selling a specific mother's product, for instance. So you can really go really deep in segmenting, and this is very interesting, and you cannot do pretty much, it's very hard for you to do something like that with the traditional media, as we call them. You can also measure everything, because when we run performance marketing or even digital marketing in a more global understanding, we have what you call pixels, which are pieces of code that you plug on the website that can measure any behavior across a very long period of time. It goes from 30 days to 180 days and more. So we literally know who has visited what, when, for how long, what have they done once they landed on a website. And we can then segment and profile these audience pools to serve them ads that are relevant to them. So it is a bit scary, I have to say, but we also see the benefits from a business point of view. And as a matter of fact, when you talk about relevancy as well, we should only serve ads to audiences that are more, that are interested in. So we do not want to harass you, obviously. We need to put caps, frequency caps. We need to make sure that the message is actually adapted to, and it goes back to the content conversation, adapted to what you're looking for. Whether we're talking about search ads, social media, display, pure display campaigns, we have to make sure that we stay relevant, because this is how we're going to get efficient too. Digital obviously helps you define KPIs, because if you can measure, then you can, optimize. What would you optimize if not clear measurement, indicators? So when we talk about KPIs, we're going to see this a bit later, but we're talking about concrete KPIs. It can be a number of sales, it can be a cost per sale, it can be a certain return on investment minus all your cancellations and anything that is not considered as a pure revenue, I would say. And obviously it can help you adjust, because if you can optimize and measure, then you can, improve. So when we talk about the landscape, you must know, it's a very classic, we call it the funnel strategy, but it's a very classic way of, understanding the funnel. So basically, the classic way is obviously 4 layers of funnel. The first one is push marketing, where people do not necessarily know your brand or have not yet interacted with your content. So here we're going to talk about we're going to use channels like social media, display, even any banner that is available out there. So you're pushing, message and promotions to your audience to create a need or to answer a need that is not even, there yet. So this is very interesting. The awareness comes into this level, obviously, awareness/consideration. Then the pull marketing, where search, paid and organic come in, where people are actively searching. So the intent is there. People want something related to your business. You just have to show them relevant ads. Again, going back to relevancy. Pull marketing with the long-term marketing strategy, obviously SEO, that is not a quick win. So just, by the way, any agency that tells you I can do SEO in 1 month is just lying to you. And I have a very good friend here who is an SEO expert, who I think would agree. It is, more of a mid to long-term, very in-depth work that will help you improve on a long term. It is not a quick win. Someone, if they tell you this, they just want some money from you, and that's it. So, and obviously the last stage, which is the retentional stage, which, you've interacted with your audience, you've retargeted them so they can consider buying or using your services, and then you want them to, stay with you. You want them to remain, because this is when you see the value of a customer. You do not see a value of a customer if he comes once, buys and drops, and never comes back. You see the value if you see him coming back every month. And this is what we call, customer lifetime value, which is the value of a customer over a certain span. Of course, the more we go on the upper level of the funnel, the more we reach, and the opposite is true when it comes to effectiveness, because people are obviously aware, they've already interacted, so they know you pretty well. Effectiveness goes up when people know you, simply. Okay, when it comes to strategy and planning, we're talking about steps to success here, to me, I guess. The first step to success when it comes to a successful digital marketing campaign is obviously to start with an audit. Auditing the existent helps you understand what worked or didn't work. So you would not start from scratch. You start from a baseline that you already have, that you've gathered from previous work. So it's important that you leverage this existent to kickstart your digital activity. And then obviously you need to strategize. Strategize meaning thinking about where you want to go and how you want to make it happen. Content comes in, visuals come in as well. The technical part needs to be settled before you actually start operating your digital campaigns. Very important. Anyone who tells you, I start digital without having a pixel implemented is, right? It's not good. And the final, it's not really final because at the end of the day it's a cycle when you think about it, but then you have the reporting and analysis. So today at WONE, for instance, we only work with real-time dashboards. So we have real-time dashboards that connect to all the platforms and give you a snap that is fully updated when you look at the data. So Friday night, midnight, you want to see how much you spent, how many sales you got. You just log on your dashboard, see the data, and you get the information. You do not have to wait for a PDF or an Excel sheet to come in. Again, the funnel is here again with the dreaming, researching, and the final conversion stage. It reflects back the funnel I explained earlier, but here the importance about this slide is the remarketing part, which is the retargeting, which is the technologies or the methodology we use, to re-engage with audiences. And as it has been mentioned before, you can retarget people who have previously viewed your videos, for instance, on Facebook. You can retarget people who have been, loyal customers to you, but today are searching for your competitor. It's a very good strategy to bring them back. And you can do so many amazing things when it comes to retargeting. But you have to do it. Because we always say it, but a lot of advertisers do not leverage enough their data. You have data. Okay, if you have some, confidentiality issues, I would understand. Like if you wouldn't want to upload your emails or phone numbers on the platforms like Google or Facebook, I could understand. We have the case with many brands at WONE. However, think about, it gets hashed, FYI, by the way. So it's kind of confidential, but not totally. But think about how you could leverage it to communicate with your audience later on. And we see the value that comes from this kind of pool audiences that are, customer-based lists. At the center of the strategy as well, we're talking about relevancy. So relevancy meaning that you're gonna, capture users, serve them an ad from some advertisers, and obviously having this whole online platforms usage in the middle. Relevancy here is at the center. I'm insisting on this because this is how you make a long-term successful campaign. So when we go a bit, deeper in the strategy, we're talking about a few steps. To me, the starting point would be to define where you want to go. So basically, what do you need from the digital campaign? Which kind of KPI, which kind of objective you want to achieve? So once you kind of define this number or even idea of what you want to do with your campaign, you would have two scenarios. Either you know how much you can spend because your management told you, guys, I only have this, do something with it, and this is pretty easy. Then you just go and build a media plan. I'll show you an example a bit later. Or you do not know at all, and they tell you, just suggest. In this case, you would use your KPIs and objectives to work backwards, saying that obviously you need some experience, and this is why agencies are there for, I guess. They will work backwards, tell you, okay, so these are your KPIs. This is on average the cost per acquisition as a benchmark in your industry. We'll do some research, given the brand perception, given the product or service you sell. We're going to do a work backward and define a budget for you. Now, this budget is, just for you to know, a forecast. It is not going to be a final budget, simply because it cannot be. Digital changes every single day. So based on performance, we will keep adjusting, and this is why it's a time-consuming job as well. Once we have our budget defined, we will work on the channels that we know will work best for this specific target. So again, going back to the funnel, push marketing, pull marketing. If you are at the very, very, corner of trying to achieve the most efficient ROI, you wouldn't want to go for a YouTube campaign, for instance, or a pure video view campaign on Facebook. No, you would want to go for channels that are pull marketing, are more, down the funnel, I'd say, because this is where, including emailing campaigns, SEO, SEA, etc., because this is where we see the highest conversion rates. This is just the reality. Now, it's the opposite. If your brand is not known at all, you should not expect people to search for your brand, right? So you would want to build the brand awareness before that, and just make sure that you create this whole blast around the brand. And you will see, because you measure everything, you will see that straight away, you'll see this lift and uplift on the searches on your brand. And this, we see it is systematic. You do a very big, for instance, YouTube or, push marketing campaign, and you see the searches growing. And this is just amazing, because you could see that now people get to know you, so they can search for you. Once you define your channels, obviously it goes to a digital strategy that is embedded in the global strategy, which we mentioned earlier. Now, when it comes to pillars and objectives and stages, we're talking about defining, as I said, the objective, how much you want to spend, and the channels. And when it comes to objectives, the important is that obviously it helps you follow a direction. It helps you also monitor your achievement and report on it. It also helps you and us build performance dashboards, which is the reporting I mentioned earlier. It can be done on Google Sheet, on Excel, on Data Studio, on Tableau, whatever actually can be used to actually calculate metrics. And obviously it helps you get clarity on how to adjust based on the strategy you're following. And obviously seeing the big picture of the numbers as well. So example of objectives could be reach, awareness, engagement, a traffic objective, video views, sales, store visits if you are an omnichannel. We have a lot of clients who are omnichannel, meaning that they have stores, but also e-commerce websites where they want to, as well create synergies between both. If I'm in the store, I would want to use the customer list of in-stores to convert them and retarget them online too. And the opposite is also true. And today, Google is doing an amazing job, Facebook as well, into creating this link between online to offline. But a very measured link, using your geolocation. If you visit a specific store in a mall, we're able to match this visit with any search you've made before, if you have your location enabled. So we're far from the beacon technology and really focused on how do we, leverage today either cookie-based or email-based, ways of tracking to serve ads. So these are only objectives. If you check at the actual targets, you will see quantified, tangible targets. So your job won't stop just at defining objectives. You'll have to put a number behind each objective. Now, it's not an easy task to do, simply because you don't always know. But the idea is to at least start with some benchmarks. So do a lot of work of research before you just, go ahead with your campaign. And it can be, a certain volume of downloads, a cost per download, as I said, anything that is really valuable to your business. Now, from a budget point of view, it is, as I said, it's a bit tricky. Either you know it or you don't. If you know it, it's quite straightforward. If you don't, you'll have to do some work, but it does help you to, get this understanding of completion as well. Do I need to spend more to achieve my targets? Or maybe I forecasted too much. So it's also a way for you to track how far you are in the budget completion. And for startups, we always say start small and grow as the performance comes. Because when we start spending week 1, we can see, starting from week 2, week 3, how the campaigns are doing. Although the, by default, digital window is 30 days, we can still, start seeing some good numbers after week 1. So we can tell you already, okay, guys, maybe there are a few things to do here and there, but obviously we also advise to wait for 30 days before actually taking a decision. So here, I put this slide together. It's a lot of information, but I think you should have it because it helps you understand which channel should be used for and when, basically. What is the pricing kind of understanding for each channel, because we get a lot of questions, to be honest. We get a lot of questions of when should I use search, when should I use social media. It is, again, it goes back to what you want to achieve and how much budget you have. It's a money word, unfortunately. So based on your financial capabilities, you'll be able to go with 1, 2, 3, 4, or just 1 and 2. Okay, so example of media plan. So this is a very, very simple snap of what a media plan would look like. In reality, it's a big Excel or Google Sheet with all the formulas and all the breakdowns, monthly, per market, with all the metrics you want to measure. So here I put just some examples of spend, clicks, cost per click, transactions. This is for an e-commerce client. Average basket value as well, your revenue, conversion rates, and return on investment. So how do you get to these numbers? I would say benchmarking, experience, and also knowing some of the numbers, basically. For instance, you know your AOV. On average, you know how much value you get from each transaction, so you can put this, or this is already known. If you know your budget, this is already known too. Using some benchmarks, from the industries, you know how much a cost per click, so even to the keyword planner on Google Search, for instance, can help you, understand which cost per click you should forecast towards. It's not 100% accurate, but it's good enough. And then you can just fill in the gap with formulas and come up with your big media planning strategy that you take to the team, to the management, tell them, this is what I'm going to achieve with my budget, or this is what the agency is saying is going to achieve, and just, trying to lock some budgets for your digital campaigns. So obviously, they are performance-oriented. They should be realistic yet challenging, because you do not want to achieve things that are too easy to achieve, so you still want to push to achieve better numbers. And obviously, KPIs should meet the objectives that you have. Okay, if we go now to talk about measurements, reporting, and optimizations, I can talk for hours about this. I'll try to make it short. The measurement is very, very, very important, obviously. We are in an era where we talk about AI and we talk about digital marketing, but the really starting basic point is this. Measuring helps you obviously assess and evaluate. It helps you monitor your performance. It helps you analyze the data that you're getting. If you can measure, then you can optimize it, as I said earlier, and if you can optimize, you can improve. And you can only report on something that you can actually see, right? So if you do not do the 4 steps that are just below the reporting, you will never be able to build a proper report that can help you really improve over time. Sorry if it's too small. These are some examples of KPIs, I would say, classified. So in impressions, CTR, clicks, CPCs, you can maybe try to take a picture if you can. There's a lot of information. It is basically to show you how the KPIs are being, ranked or being regrouped in a similar behavior. So when we talk about impression, we're talking about people who just see your ads. Is it a very relevant KPI? I don't think so. However, without impressions, you cannot get anything of, any sale, any ROI, anything else. So they're all important somehow. It's just about knowing what you should be focusing on as a primary or secondary objective. So again, talking about more performance-oriented, because this is what I specialize in anyway, we're talking, if we want only traffic, or if we want to measure traffic-based performance / traffic-based KPIs, we would talk about something like the conversion rate. Conversion rate is literally the number of conversions you got divided by the traffic, which means the clicks or the sessions brought to the website. This KPI is very, very important, because until people land on the website, they don't know what's happening on it. They don't know how is your UX UI. They don't know how your website is performing on mobile. They don't know the page speed. They don't even know the product offer, really. So the impression happens, the clicks happen, they come on the website, and then what do? If they actually convert and your conversion rate is high, it means that whatever we promise them on the traffic side or the ad side is actually being answered on the website level. If you see that your conversion rate is low, you can have the best campaigns with the highest click-through rates, etc. If you see that your conversion rate is low, it means that there is a discrepancy, or there is some kind of lag between what you promise and what you deliver. Meaning that there is traffic, but they're not converting. So either you adjust the whole, what we call the value chain, meaning the whole, keyword, or even targeting you're having, the ad, the messaging, etc., or you even question your own offer. Maybe my prices are too high. Maybe when I land on the dresses page, and this is a case from one of our omni-channel clients, you only find 4 dresses, while they have 100 of dresses. But due to some technical issues, they only show 4 ads. So even if we push the best campaigns and get the best click-through rates, if I land on a 4 items page, I will not convert because I don't see enough choice. So conversion rate helps you really challenge both sides. Now, revenue, sales volume, user acquisition happens mainly once the person really makes a sale, and then you start understanding how much I spent to acquire this customer. Is it worth it? Did he come and drop? You know, how much did it cost me to acquire him, etc. So really two different things, obviously linked somehow too. When we talk about reporting, as I said, we can do it on Tableau, Data Studio. You have other dashboards like BIM. We use Supermetrics as well because we think it's very cool. It helps us connect all the channels that our clients advertise or are connected to. On Data Studio, we see that we can calculate and estimate everything. We can even create charts with completion. So you can say, for instance, this is a pie that shows me the target budget with the actual spend. You can create all the breakdowns that you can imagine. So browser breakdown, specific devices breakdowns. You can break down by audience type as well, by placements, which are the websites you're appearing on if it's a display campaign. So really you can go as deep as the actual platforms allow you to. These are some examples of charts on Data Studio, and that's because Data Studio is free. Obviously, Supermetrics is not, so we pay for the technology. For our clients, it's a free of charge, but it helps you really, build very user-friendly charts, very easy, on mobile, on desktop, as I said, and it's pretty cool. This is another example of e-com client with, targets of sales, conversion rates, ROI, so you can see, on the right-hand side, you can see males, female. You can see city breakdown as well. This is another example again with the devices. Here on the below chart, you could see the performance per day of the week, because obviously from Sunday, the performance changes a lot from a day to another, and we've seen this a lot. So for one of our clients, for instance, we've seen that there is a dip in sales every weekend. It was a healthy snack client. So every weekend, every Friday, Saturday, they had a very bad number of sales. So what we thought with them is to run a weekend package deal that does not cannibalize the sales during the week, so people would not wait for the weekend to actually buy the product. And that will be only available by Thursday, 6 p.m., delivered to you until Saturday, 6 p.m. And with this promotion, it's not really a promotion, it's more of a package. It's basically buying a bundled package only in the weekend. We saw amazing results. Now, the actual peak of sales happen in the weekend. So these are the things, kind of things that this data allows to do. So this is also a very good way to illustrate the impact of performance digital marketing on your product and services offer. Okay, I cannot talk about digital performance without talking about attribution. So when we talk about attribution, we're talking about, okay, it's getting more technical, sorry for that, but basically we're talking about to which touch point are we going to attribute a conversion to. Because you can click today on an ad, but only bounce because you have something to do, and only convert a week later, right? So how do we measure this sale? Which time is more important, basically? Is it the click time, because they clicked on it? Or is it the actual time when they converted, because they had this environment that allowed them to convert? These are questions that we need to ask when we're in performance. So it goes back to football, if you are fans of football. But basically, if someone scores, in this specific case, Ronaldo, it's the last touch point, and you have so many other touch points that happen before the actual goal, who should get the credit of this conversion, right? So, example, I'm looking for, let's say, iPhone 11, and I'm seeing an ad about Amazon, for instance. Okay, so I'm searching for, and I don't know Amazon. Let's say I'm new to the word because everyone knows Amazon. It's a bad example, but you see what I mean. So basically, yes. So I'm searching for a generic term or a product term or let's say specific device model, and I'm not looking for any specific seller, right? And I see an ad from Amazon. I will remember that Amazon is selling my iPhone at a very good price, right? So I'm gonna just, forget about it, come back 2 weeks later, and I won't search for iPhone 11 anymore. I'll search directly for Amazon because I know where I should get it from. I'm gonna go click, land on the website, and convert, okay? So the conversion as per Google Analytics, which is a last click model, attribution model, will go to the last touch point, which is the Amazon keyword on search. But does the Amazon keyword deserve all the credit? No, because you had the first touch point that was just, iPhone 11, that also deserves credit. So this is a whole, discussion we're having in digital about where should you go about this, basically. Should you give it to the first? Should you give it to the last? It's not fair in both cases. Should you give an equal chance? No, either, because some of the elements have much more weight than others. And yes, it's a debate, it's an ongoing debate. Google tried to find, I'd say tried, I'll tell you why. They tried to find an alternative to this, which is called data-driven attribution, right? So data-driven attribution is only available on Google products, so Google Analytics, Google Search, etc. And it helps, it defines, it's algorithmically defining a pattern of winning and losing, paths, basically. And at the end of the day, we'll give credit to the different paths based on the whole experience. Whether they did well or not, it will decide which one is actually deserving the credit based on historical data and a lot of factors. And it's obviously using machine learning to do so. So in this specific case, data-driven attribution is achieving a goal that we want to go towards. However, to use it, you need at least 600 conversions in the past 30 days. You have to have a lot of data. So technically, only big businesses would be able to use DDA in this specific case. So for smaller ones, you will still have to figure out whether you go with first click, last click, or just position-based linear, etc. So yeah, these are some examples of last click, first click, and the touch points as well. Attribution can be understood from a device perspective too, right? You can start searching on mobile, but convert on desktop. If there is a disconnect between both devices, you will think that your mobile is really doing bad. Well, as a matter of fact, it has initiated the first interaction. So keep this in mind. Always consider the what we call cross-device attribution. Okay, so let's talk about, now that you've measured, how do you optimize? Again, when we talk about search, for instance, we're talking about a formula called ad rank. The way for you to appear on top position on Google search ads, I'm specifically talking about the ads here, is to have the highest number across this formula, which is your maximum cost per click, which is the maximum you're able or willing to pay to appear on top positions, multiplied by your quality score. So here again, sorry if I go too technical, but I think it's it is actually one of the most important formulas in the search world. So if I want to pay less to appear on top positions, what should I do? I should increase my quality score, right? To increase my quality score, I need to increase my relevancy. Just think about QS as relevancy. If I increase my relevancy, meaning that my keywords are landing, so if I'm selling shoes or black shoes, my ad needs to say black shoes landing to a black shoes landing page. Not white, not red, not anything else, not dresses either. So if my value chain is respected, if my website is good, UX, UI, the loading pages, loading time is good enough, etc., I will get very good quality scores if I optimize properly, right? Which means that it will allow me to pay less to appear on top positions, which is just what I'm looking for. The opposite is also correct. If my quality score is bad, and just for you to know, QS is between 1 and 10, if my quality score is really bad, what do I need to do then if I want my ad rank to be high? I would need to spend more, right? So I will end up spending much more than my competitors to maybe eventually, appear slightly above them, or even below them if they have very good quality scores. So this is a formula you need to keep in mind when it comes to Google search ads. That will help you be efficient, obviously. The other thing we do at WONE is a lot of A/B testing. So one of the questions earlier was, which length of video I should run. The good answer was yes, indeed, you have to ask your audience. From a performance perspective, I would answer you have to A/B test. You have to A/B test both and see what the data tells you. So once you A/B test, you give enough A/B test. What does it mean? It does not just mean just running 2 ads and coming back in 1 month and saying, okay, this one is doing better than this. It has to be in an environment that is well structured. So when we talk about A/B testing, we're talking about putting these 2 elements. It can be ads, it can be specific captions, it can be 2 landing pages. You put them in an environment that is similar. You launch them at the same time, with the same budget, within the same family of configuration you've done. And then you leave enough data to actually start populating or initiating a learning curve. Once you have enough statistical data, basically, you can use some tools to statistically define what did best, basically, A or B. And I'll show you some examples a bit later. But the idea here is to leverage, again, the machine learning. Because in digital, performance digital, even more, it is all about algorithms. So algorithms are what? It's basically a machine that learns, giving a certain configuration. So we tell her or tell it, take this, learn, and try to achieve my target. Learning meaning data is needed, meaning time is needed, and also volumes too, right? So you cannot run an A/B test with the 10 dirhams a day campaign, simple. Or else you would need a year to complete your A/B test. So you have to have enough volume to actually capture the data over a certain period of time. This is very important. So the A/B test part can happen on the landing page, as I said. It can also happen on the bidding strategy. So you could, try 2 different bidding strategies, automated or manual, and come back with a conclusion. It can also be done on an ad type, so responsive, expanded, different ads as well, on social media as well. It can be done on audience level, devices. So really, you can A/B test a lot of things. Yes, this is another good slide about how do you check your effectiveness while you're optimizing, I get a lot of questions about what is a good ROI anyway, A good ROI is not a positive ROI. No, a good ROI is an ROI that is, positive, giving the other things that will come in the business, meaning everyone who's going to cancel, everyone who's going to return his goods, you'll have to measure this ratio internally. The agency cannot do this work for you. I'm sorry, it is a homework that you need to do. Come back to us and tell us my ROI target is 4. 4 because if I take my historical data, I'm getting X% of cancellations, Y% of returns, etc., etc. Then we will work backwards and work actually towards this specific target. Same thing with cost per acquisition. How much am I willing to pay to acquire a conversion or a sale? If, let's say, if I'm selling something for 200 dirhams, am I willing to spend 300 dirhams to sell it? What do you think? Yes, no? No answer? Yeah, I'm going to come again. I'm saying if the value of something I sell is 200 dirhams, but yes, 200 dirhams, am I willing to spend 300 dirhams to acquire it? No? Yes? Yes. Actually, the answer is it depends, right? It depends, because if I pay 300 dirhams and I acquire something for 200 dirhams, but this specific customer comes back every month or every 2 months and buys for 400, 500, 100, at the end of the day, my LT, my customer lifetime value is going to be positive. And at the end of the day, even if I spend too much acquiring it now, at the end, he or she is getting me the value I'm looking for. So it is not just a snap on the actual. It is actually following your customers over time. At the same time, same thing goes with the CAC and the LTV. It is just the idea is to understand that you need to capture the value over time and not just consider what's happening on the conversion time. So again, based on what you see, once you launch your digital campaigns, you would see that maybe you're making a lot of money, or maybe that you're unfortunately not being profitable. Here you would need to make a decision. Do I boost, keep increasing my spend, keep adjusting, or do I pull and try to start dropping the spend? Just keep in mind to leave enough room to understand really how the data performs before taking a decision that could be too fast. Yes, again, a lot of people tell me, I don't know, I'm getting lost, a lot of information, what do? I always tell them to stay focused on where they want to go again, back to the objective and back to how efficient you want to be as well, and back to the budget, simply. Okay, so now we're going to take a 2 seconds break, we're going to leave from the measurement optimizations, pure digital words, to how do we communicate with the agencies, what should you expect from your agency, because I think it's important for you to know, and I think it's important to share this information as well. So today, a lot of agencies work based on this scheme, The client centralizes all the informations and sends it back to the agency that works with with its own team to actually achieve the targets. The model we were looking for is something more integrated, basically, which means that we work hand in hand with our clients to understand the whole ecosystem that is around them, right? So instead of just sending requirements to the client, we would work together to understand how is the IT infrastructure working. Who is the designer in your team, How much time do they need to actually, send us the visuals that we need? Do you have any SEO support? Who are the SEO guys? Where are they based? Are they based in New York? Should we consider any, time lag, for instance? It can be from the smallest to the biggest details, as a matter of fact. On the right-hand side, we're talking about understanding the other marketing activations. Often there is a disconnect between digital, this is what I see anyway, I don't know for you, between digital and the other activities. So they do not understand that while running a push marketing, whether on TV, on radio, or even other media that are digital but not paid, you can create synergies, right? So you can create synergies at every single level. As long as you can collect information, you can create these synergies. But this can only happen if you actually share the information. If you do not share it, then we would not know, right? So in many cases, we would see a spike. We're like, what happened on Friday? It's just a Friday, And then they tell you, no, we did the radio spot, and this is what we got and stuff. Or they do influencer campaigns without measurement, and we get to know about it a week later, and we tell them, if you told us, we would have helped you measure these campaigns. Same goes with SMS campaigns. So communication is key. And to me, communication only happens if you're integrated. It's like one team at the end of the day. Okay, so some do's and don'ts that I thought would be good to know as well. When it comes to the do's, we need to obviously create roadmaps and forecast. Not over-forecast either, because a lot of businesses would tell you, but you have forecasted this, and we are here now. You forecasted to spend, I don't know, let's say 60% on Facebook and 40% on Instagram. But you've done the opposite. Yes, because we've tried. We've seen that the performance has, indicated that Instagram was doing better, so we switched back. It is just normal that you keep adjusting your strategy. Actually, the opposite would be not normal. If you do not adjust anything, it means that you're not being, reactive enough. So you have to literally start with a forecast that helps you get a view of where you want to go, but then you have to adjust. The do's obviously agree on challenging and achievable targets and timelines. Very important to agree on timelines and targets before you start, just to set expectations between both parties. I think it's just it's a fair game. Make sure you measure, obviously, properly before you start anything. This is a must. Automate as much as possible. Again, you're going to hear a lot about, machine learning and artificial intelligence. At the end of the day, it goes back to not trusting humans anymore, obviously, who else apart from humans have actually created these machine learnings and algorithms, right? It is us. It's simply that they have been configured in a way that they consider so many signals that we cannot, right? So, and I've put some examples below. We'll check them later. But automation is important. Automation in the reporting, but also setup of the campaigns, automation on the optimizations, the bidding strategies, etc. Also need to obviously organize a very regular updates. Daily, we have WhatsApp groups with our clients, to be honest, because daily we see things happening and we have to be on top of things all the time. Choose partners based on their core business expertise. Yes, please. Please, if you are to take any decision on choosing a business partner, don't take agencies who do everything. It is impossible to do everything unless you're maybe a massive corporate agency, but as a matter of fact, to me, you have to go with specialized areas because this is where you're going to get the value from. And today in Dubai, everyone does digital anyways. You have to be careful with this as well. Using insights and key learnings is very important, obviously not to reproduce the same mistakes you may have done before. And obviously spending budget gradually is also highly, highly recommended. And be reactive, and as I said, react quite fast to the environment and to what you see. In the don'ts, we're talking about, as I said, not over-forecasting, not taking decisions without the data, so not assuming that the red would do better than the green. This is just not going to work. You have to test and see. Obviously, avoid, if possible, retention of information with the partners that you're working with, sign NDAs, and just be transparent, because this is the best way for an actual efficient communication too. Yes, keep onboarding manual processes is important. Avoid the last-minute tactical campaigns. What does this mean? It means that if you are to launch a big push campaign next week, you should not tell your partners 2 days before. It has to be strategized and planned accordingly. So you have to give enough room for the people to work in a most efficient way. Yeah, we've added a quick snap of the latest, hottest topics in digital because I think it's very, very exciting. Some of them come, obviously, earlier than others. You've talked about WhatsApp as well. WhatsApp today is connectable to Facebook, so we can create Facebook ads linking directly to WhatsApp My Business account. We're trying this with one of our healthcare clients. I think it's going to be very good, given the use of WhatsApp in the region is just huge. So why don't we leverage this from a paid ad perspective too? But yeah, let's go across these quickly. So obviously we talk about AI, which is, as I said, in digital, will translate into giving this learning curve across a certain time span. It is not a recent, I say hot, but it has been there for a very long time, right? So it's just today that we're using it in a very digitalized way, but we've been using AI for a long time across our computers and everything. So obviously here we're talking about attribution. This is the slide I wanted to show you about attribution. As I said, too many signals are to take into account that we will not be able to consider. So let's not just assume, and let's use the proper automations to do that. So here it's an example of multiple devices, multiple times from different countries. Did the user visit the website before or not? Because this, there is a segmentation too. Which operating system is he or she on? Which language of the browser or the platform has been used? Etc., etc. So many pixels multiplied by each other is just, an unlimited amount. And these are just a few examples of, signals that we cannot consider humanly, that algorithms can. So this goes back to smart. It's what we call smart bidding or automated bidding, which is a full automated way of, bidding and optimizing our campaigns from an algorithm KPI point of view. AI is also being used today via things like lookalike audiences on Facebook, right? Facebook defines similar behaviors based on machine learning, right? So if you tend to watch specific type of videos on Facebook, or if you tend to like specific type of pages, you will be categorized somehow and lookalike of you would be created on the platform and put at the disposal of agencies and advertisers. Netflix obviously uses AI. When you go on your homepage on Netflix and you only see K-drama shows or Indians or Arab shows, then this is just machine learning happening because you've consumed a specific content that is, goes back to this, behavior, which is completely part of Netflix machine learning system. On Facebook as well, there is another way, which is dynamic product pricing, which you can, which also uses machine learning, which means that you can dynamically predict and define pricing based on a certain, sale trend, for instance. So we've been seeing this as well. It's been quite interesting. It has gained stream, it says here, over the course of the last decade, especially in live events. So, and it goes the same for some certain airlines as well, where you see that the prices will fluctuate based on the season, and this is all using AI as well. So the chatbots here, and I think I have 5 minutes left, if I'm not mistaken. 10, cool, thank you. I think you gave me 5 minutes extra, thank you for that. So yes, so chatbots as well are very important today. They have their limitations, but if they're done properly, they can really save a lot of time. So whether you order a flight or whether you're in a healthcare, business, having a chatbot that actually answers the customer's questions is very good. So this works. How does it work? Basically, you go to talk to a chatbot developer that will help you define and allow you define the questions that people are more likely to ask with the answers that go with it. And then after that is just a pure development and pure IT work, I would say, with a lot of troubleshooting, because a lot of bots just don't go as expected, I'd say. But if it's done properly, then it can really do very, very good. So here it says there are tools that you can use to get the results you want and be more efficient from a time management perspective, because the human resources behind these will be just plugged in somewhere else. Okay, voice search is also something coming up. We know that people are, more and more searching using, either Siri or Google Assistant, or even at home using Alexa or any other tool. Comscore has estimated that by next year, more than half of the searches will be voice searches. Now, what's interesting is to switch this or understand how this search will be customized to paid ads. So you'd be searching for something, how would pay ads look like? This is something that we're really interested in, and we're looking forward to see more insights from the platforms. These are some examples of people using smart speakers at home to actually buy specific categories. So this is also the future of how the customer will be buying products as well. We won't be necessarily going on our mobiles, either apps or specific browsers, not on desktop either. We'll be just using a device at home to make a purchase, because everything will be pre-recorded, including the payment methods, etc. So some takeaways before we go to the questions part. Obviously, strong relationship with the partners is very important. Always work on tangible, predefined, measured targets. Leave enough room for budgets as well. Use data in all your decisions. Very important. Automate to save time and be more efficient. Leverage mobile and improve your mobile, presence, loading time, user experience. Understand how customers, behave and what do they expect from your brand, whether online or offline, actually. This would apply for both. Do a lot of tests and learning. It goes back to the A/B testing I've mentioned earlier. Optimize your product catalogs, which means your details of products, so you can run shopping campaigns, dynamic product ads on Facebook. These are very, very important components of digital, and they are fully, dynamic and automated, which is very good. Well, some of them are half automated, some are 100%. And explore other capabilities to, reduce the gap between your online to offline, and basically, in a nutshell, stay ahead of everyone that is a competition to you. And keep in touch. I'll be here if you have any questions, and if you have questions now, I think I might have like 5 minutes. Just catch the box and feel free to ask your questions. Hi.
Aida, it was very informative for us indeed. Really nicely done. Basically, I had 2 small questions. Number one is about quantifying the impressions and the reach of the content according to our product.
Yes.
I'm basically a content producer in a digital strategist company here, Alpha Pro in Pakistan. Okay. So what I feel that the impressions which we get on Twitter, that's not the real story because of the people who are engaging in that sometimes doesn't really talk about that product. But impressions, we find impressions like millions of people watching that and all. What is the other source, how to build up? Because your statement was very, very perfect. Calculating KPIs help you mathematical and statistical way. So if the statistics are not right, online Twitter impressions are differing from one website to another website from where to start on.
It's very
one.
Yeah.
One. Second Please. One is the same question, and the part of that. What about the Facebook? When we see the video views on Facebook, they are much lesser than the reach shown in the analytics. What the last speaker also referred to as you go for the analytics to determine another campaign after that. So what is the basic difference between the reach and the views? It sounds like that the video has reached on the Facebook wall, but it has not been viewed. Yeah. But how technically you can say about that? And the last one, do's and don'ts. You said be super reactive.
Yes.
And decisions based on assumptions, they shouldn't be like that. But why you didn't use the word proactive in that?
Okay. So I'll start with, I hope I won't forget any. So first of all, if there are always discrepancies. This is a bit of a trick in digital. You will always find discrepancies between the different platforms, right? Now, what you need to understand is that an impression is just an impression. An impression is literally the number of times an ad would appear. It can appear above default, it can appear completely below, you may not even see it, it will still be counted as impressions. And this is why the number of impressions will always be higher than the actual interactions people will have with the ad, whether we're talking about views, clicks, or anything else. Now, one way for you to understand, you should not see a huge discrepancy. A 5 to 10% discrepancy should be there. But if you see that you're getting a lot of impressions with a very, very limited number of views, it means that there is something you need to optimize in the process, in the whole targeting. Maybe you're targeting people who are simply not interested, or maybe the video is not, eye-catchy enough. Like for Facebook, for instance, would count views if you viewed, let's say, 10 seconds, the video for at least 10 seconds. So if your video has not been seen or viewed at all, it just means that it has appeared on a feed that is not that maybe relevant, or maybe that the content itself is not that catchy. So this is something you definitely can work on, which is, how you would actually improve and, reduce this lag between the times or the number of times people would see and the actual times people would interact, Now, for one other thing to keep in mind, which goes back to both 1 and 2 questions, is the push marketing part. So Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever, all these are considered as part of push marketing, as display campaigns. So when it comes to display campaigns, you will always see a huge number of impressions. But then really what matters is what happens once they see the ad. So it's almost like you have to not forget about impressions, but you have to start optimizing as for the specific interaction rather than impressions. So you have to exclude a lot of audiences, you'll have to review your bidding strategy. As I said, you have to review the ads you're running, etc. And if you go back to search, for instance, search ads or pull marketing, you will see that the lag is very, very much less, simply because if your ads are relevant, people will actually click, you know? So maybe also consider other pull marketing channels in your specific case. If you see that you're getting too many impressions with no real interactions, you can do this as well. And the last one, yes, maybe I should have used proactive. I think both would work, but I think proactive is even stronger. The idea here is to make sure that as the data happens, decisions need to happen, but not too fast either, you know? So it's a mix, I would say, between reactive and proactive, where you do not want to push too much, but still give it enough time to actually learn from it properly. I hope I answered your questions properly. Okay, cool. Anytime. Anyone, any other question? Yes, please.
Hello.
Hi.
You talked a little bit about brand measurements, how after you do some activity, you see an increase in brand searches. Do you have some other more advanced ways of measuring your brand awareness preference other than the basics like brand search, direct traffic? How do you measure that and report on that? What KPIs and tools would you recommend?
Yes, definitely. We use a lot of brand monitoring tools. I can give you some names a bit later. Brand monitoring tools help you literally monitor the brand search. It's a very good question, actually, because if you're not using tools, then it's just going to be about correlation between, sorry if I talk too much, I'm just going to drive. Okay, cool. It's going to be, you know, just understanding the correlation between the incremental of searches versus what you're actually seeing in terms of data. So the best way, the most accurate way is to use brand monitoring tools, and we can discuss this later. But there are tools dedicated for brand measurement in terms of trends, etc. You have other tools like Google Trends as well, but it's not that accurate, I would say. Anyone else? Okay. I think if you have any other questions, I'll be outside anyway, or even here. Feel free, and thank you so much. Thank you.